Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Now, if you are new here, always a reminder that welcome. It's always so great to have new listeners of the show. Make sure that you stay by following us on all social media platforms. We are on Twitter and Instagram at The Root of the Sci Pod, Facebook and LinkedIn at The Root of the Science Podcast, and we are on TikTok at The Root of the Sci Pod. Also, most importantly, if you want to hear us, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. You can click notify there. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can listen to us on Google Podcasts. And the new most important one is that we are now on YouTube. So all of the past episodes are also all available there. You can make sure and listen and subscribe to the show. So thank you so much to the usual listeners. Always appreciate you for coming on. I really love that you come onto the show. According to the last Spotify Unwrapped stats, we were listened to over 26 countries. That is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much to every single person who listens everywhere. Also, a reminder that you can also support this show. You can do that by clicking on the support the show link on the show notes. There you are able to click and you can donate any amount to the PayPal account. You know, it goes a really long way in making sure that I am able to bring you really amazing content all the time. So please go ahead and do that. Now, let's get on to today's episode. My guest today is Puseletso Manyaka-Lesofe, a medical biological scientist born and based in South Africa. She tells us how her mom and her teachers played a huge role in getting her into the sciences. We chat about her academic journey that followed. Puseletso then talks about the challenges of having a family, working and studying, and how she maneuvered this journey. Currently, as a medical biological scientist, Puseletso talks us through the clinical research projects that she works on, highlighting the importance of the clinical research she does on a daily basis. Tune in to hear about all of this and, of course, so much more. Let's go. Hi, Puseletso. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure to have you onto the show. I'm so excited to get to know more about you and everything that you do. So first things first, let's get the formalities out of the way. Who is Puseletso? Where are you from? Where are you currently based? And just briefly, what do you do?
So I'm Puseletso Manyaka, married into the Lesofe family. So Puseletso Manyaka-Lesofe. I am originally from Limpopo, in a small town called Begersfort, in a village called Ramanyaka. But I was raised and went to school in Davidson, in Benoni. So I was raised specifically in Davidson, I was raised in Zenzele, Extension 12, which was originally like an informal settlement, but the RTPs came and they rescued the situation. So now it's really decent. It's no longer a mess. Otherwise, I had a fun childhood. We had our own struggles, but that was okay. Otherwise, my home, where I stay now with my kids and my husband and my family, is in a rural village in Limpopo, in a small town called Denelton. But because of work, I'm in Pretoria, and I work at Sechaba Research Center as a medical biological scientist.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. We're going to get into everything that you spoke about in more detail during the course of this interview. But you mentioned as one of the first things that you said is that you are married. So before we get into the science and, you know, your whole journey, you are a mom and
Yes.
a wife. You're a mom to two wonderful kids. And, you know, this is, I would just like to say you're like a superhero in my books already before.
It
Oh,
doesn't,
no,
it
trust
doesn't feel
me,
like
you
that
are a superhero.
sometimes.
Like, just the mere fact that you're functioning with other dependents, just how? But anyway,
Oh my God.
sometimes I am like one and I don't even know how I'm breathing. So, just to touch on that, right? Tell us, tell us how, being a mom and being a wife is so important, and, like the kind of joy which I presume it brings you from just being a scientist or working in the lab, and the type of balance that these roles play in your life.
Okay, so basically, I believe that everyone needs love at the end of the day. I mean,
Yes.
as humans, we cannot function alone. So, a place where we can belong, and being a mom, a wife, a sister, daughter, and aunt fulfills that in me, obviously. So my kids also are big huggers, cuddlers, taught by my husband, which I am not. So they taught me to really embrace that touch aspect of like feeling loved, connected to other people. And so after a long day or week, just being in that space really, just gives me peace and calm. And really, when I'm doing the hard tasks as a scientist in my daily job, and you lose a little bit of hope there and there, when you think about those people, like the kids, the husband, and you know how much they love you and are behind you, that motivates you. It makes you a better scientist in general as well.
That's so true. That's so true. And I think sometimes, there's this whole idea that we are scientists, we don't have emotions, we are like unfeelers, and we are so focused in our own world. And I love what you said, that they kind of bring out that soft side of you, and the whole idea that when things are not working, there are people who can bring you down to earth, like, hey, listen, real life is here and we love you, even though your experiments might not be loving you.
But, sometimes if experiments are not working for you, it's very easy in the scientific world for people to be rude and stuff. But when you're a mother, you have that thing of being motherly. Even to other people, you understand like a mother.
Yeah.
You're more patient. Yeah.
Oh man.
So,
I love that. I love that so much. I love that. And how, like you said, it just also translates to you and how you operate as a scientist. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you guys are like my favorite people, moms who are in research. I honestly am a fan. Like, one day I hope to join that group. But like every time I chat to moms, like you always there's an air which is so different and it's so admirable. And I just wanted to commend you for being a mom and being a wife. So yeah. That's definitely it. Okay. Still speaking about your personal life here, right? Let's then backtrack. Yeah. You said you're from Limpopo originally. Yes. So let's then go back to the genesis. Before your mom, a sister, blah, 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 blah. Did you always know, like, okay, a young girl in Limpopo, this is what I want to do, like science is something that I wanted to do? Or were they people who influenced you to get into this journey?
I don't think I've always known. I mean, when I was younger, actually, my mother used to sell things to make extra money, like ice pops, and we used to sell like fat cooks in our neighborhood, door to door. So maybe my sales skills, I would have been maybe a better business person. But my earliest memory of my upbringing, where I really appreciated education to begin with, not just science. It's my mother. My mother is really inspirational to me. So she decided to pursue her teaching degree when she had already had me and my sister. So I saw her struggle. So she would go with me to class as well when she couldn't get a babysitter. And even though those memories are like fading now, but I remember the distance we would walk to a campus. And the one thing that stood out obviously was her graduation, and the nostalgia of that, looking at them graduating and just looking at them explain their degrees and all those things. So my mom helped me to to really value education in a sense. So she was my first inspiration into falling in love with science as well, and finding out how things work. So yeah. But also I have like 3 teachers who played a big role. Two teachers who played a big role in me doing science, and that was in the high school that I attended, Hulazi at Davidson. The first one is Mrs. Namani, who we fondly called Umamkulu. That woman was like Mamkulu means your mother's big sister, you know. That was really believed in me so much when I couldn't believe it myself as well. She like enrolled me in grade 9, I think, for the ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists. And actually, we got to the regional finals. I don't know how, but we did. So even in metric, she brought us different people from different careers, like to motivate us. And I remember this particular guy that she brought us, who was an engineer, and his story of poverty and suffering and how he finally qualified and built his mama house. I resonated with that story because this is what I wanted to do for my mother as well, for everything she had done for me. So he looked normal. I thought, well, in my head while he was speaking all these things. And I thought that he's normal like me. If he can do it also, then I can do it, you know. So all those things motivated me. And as a teacher, she brought those things to us. And, you know, it's good when you are in high school and you get to see people like you, make it people of your color, you know, because representation, it matters.
Yeah.
Don't only believe that it's for these people. No, you also see yourself in those people and like, oh, okay, if this one can do it, why can't I as well, you know?
Yeah.
So she also motivated me to fill in actually the bursary forms for the bursary that paid for my undergraduate degree. So that teacher was very special to me. Then there was also the second teacher is Mrs. Mahoti, who was my biology teacher, and she really influenced me with how I saw myself and my capabilities as well. She actually told me that I would get a distinction in biology, and I did. So, you know, she just made me believe in myself, and how she taught it as well. I just fell in love with science, like from those are the points I can remember, if I can say.
It's so amazing how, like you said, that it's, I know you said there's 2 teachers, but we can say 3, including your mother, 3 educators who played such an important role. And, you know, growing up in such environment really does expose you to things that if you weren't in that type of environment, you wouldn't be, like you said, inspired. And the whole idea that you also touched on, which is something that I also personally firmly believe in, the idea of representation, like what you said about having somebody who came in to talk to you guys and you're like, hey, this guy is like me, but he is doing A, B, C, D. And I think, you know, that bug, and he probably doesn't even know what he did to influence the young you, but yet here you are.
Like he lit something in me, and I unfortunately forgot his name, but if I could see him as well, like I would thank him, because like I said, representation really matters. Sometimes you can see things from far and think other people deserve them, and your background does not allow you. But when you see other people do those things, you're like, no, then I can do this as well.
Yeah. True, and it makes it more real. Because true. It makes it more real and more attainable, and you know, and I think that's why these types of like engagement and also is just so important. The whole idea of speaking to school learners from a young age. So kudos to Umam Kulu and your biology teacher for for lighting that fire in their various different ways. So okay, you said that you applied for this bursary that that paid for your undergraduate studies. Yes. So what exactly did you study in undergrad for you to be a medical biology student?
Okay, so anyway, um, when university time came and I got accepted into university, I got accepted at Wits, Medunsa in the University of Pretoria. This is totally wrong, but the criteria I had used to choose the university that I was going to go to was the one with the lowest registration fee. Sorry. So,
Yeah.
because really the financial situation did not really allow me. But anyway, I chose UP, the University of Pretoria, and there I had gotten accepted for doing a BSc in medical sciences. So which is mainly more anatomy and physiology like courses. So during that time, I was with anatomy and physiology and chemistry. First year, really like, when you leave high school and you got distinction to get there, like, I'm good. Then they humbled me. They were like, hey, wait, we are here now.
Yeah.
Because the bursary also couldn't covered my fees, but couldn't cover my books. So first year, the only book I had was for chemistry, and which I actually failed. So anyway, with that, I managed to actually pass my biology subjects nicer. But within doing those things, I realized that the anatomy side of things was not what I thought I liked, It wasn't what I liked. So when we moved to second semester, then I was introduced to the other biologies, your botany, microbiology, genetics, and zoology. So from the onset, biology, microbiology, and genetics were the ones that I sort of like, if I can say, felt the connection with. I don't know if you can feel the connection with studies. And those were sort of my best marks. And obviously now when I had to go to second year and choose something that I feel like I'm more comfortable with, I had to also look at the employability and just marks as well. So microbiology was my highest. So then I decided that, no, you know what, I'm just gonna not do the BSc medical sciences anymore. I'm gonna do the BSc in microbiology. So that's how I came to do it. That I moved obviously up to my third year with it. And then after my third year, well, I had third year / fourth year, I failed some, went with some. But when I was done, I graduated finally. So I already had my son, so I looked for a job. So the first job that I got was a lab assistant in a microbiology pathology laboratory. So to my surprise, when I got there, I thought I would actually get there and do samples and whatnot. But when I got there, I was mainly receiving samples for more than 6 months, Then I got promoted to a lab tech, which still put me in the lab. But there was a gap, when you feel like something, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, Then I was like, no, I definitely need something that is gonna challenge me. I needed a job that, I'm the type of person who I like to think, like I like to find out things. So during that time when I was working, I felt like it just wasn't for me. So I quit my job and I then applied for my honors. So you can imagine how that was difficult. Already I had my son then as well. So quitting a job and going back to school full time and being a student really wasn't that nice. So when I went back to going to school, obviously, and doing my honors and being broke, I got into it was a BSc in microbiology as well. So my honors project was mainly on microbial phylogenomics. And so it's something that wasn't done a lot and I wasn't really exposed to, but that right there showed me that the scientific world is much bigger than what I didn't even now regret quitting my job, because I saw this is what I wanted to do. Now science, finding out things and doing those things, it's what I love. I then moved on to do my MSc, which is my master's, which is also in microbiology, which I never got to complete. because I got an offer to do an internship at the National Health Laboratory Service as a medical scientist with their University of the Witwatersrand in their Department of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases. So this would allow me to register with the Health Professional Council of South Africa as a qualified scientist. So honestly, with the fact that I already had a child, I also couldn't say no to an income, So after the internship finished, I was a little bit unemployed. Then COVID hit. I had a gap where I was also still unemployed, but I eventually got a job at WITS as well in the NHLS at the Department of Virology in a diagnostic setting. But I didn't work there for long because it was a COVID contract. I then moved to Ndlovu Research Center as a medical scientist still, but there they do clinical trials and also they had a diagnostic wing. So I was still doing research and diagnostic. After a year and 6 months, then I moved to where I am now. So still medical scientist still. Yeah, so that's the summary of my journey as a scientist.
Wow, what a journey. And I love how it had its own twists and turns. And I know, okay, obviously going through the process, it's not nice. You're going through the process is not nice. But I think it really, shows the truth that a journey in science is not straight, although would like it to be straight from here to here. But all these detours and stops and starts, actually, I'd like to think made you sort of a better scientist because you like you said, what you said about how you were exposed to a whole lot more than what you would have been if you had just, let's say, for example, continued in that first job, which is quite interesting. And hey, and it just goes to show that this is real life, like real life. Real life.
It's easy to look at the product of somebody and think they just went from A to B when they actually went from A to A point A to A point B, then to, a lot of points to reach where you are.
Yeah, and also sometimes where you mentioned that during COVID you were unemployed, so it's also a moment where you feel like you've gone backwards and you're like, I'm not moving, or and many people can relate to that. And whatever journey they are trying to partake, there's always, man, we could sit here and talk about that. Like there's so many things.
Yeah, we just ask yourself, why did I really do this? Like, is this really my calling, I'm not sure anymore. But
yeah, definitely. So wait, can you please take us more on your current role, right? And some of the projects you said that that you do in the lab. And I know that you are currently a site study coordinator for the HVTN RAMP projects and just concluded in epidemiology STI studies. So can you tell us what that is for somebody like, I know you run various different projects, but let's just maybe hone into one and you talk us through like what you kind of do there.
Okay. So obviously my role in general, it's like I don't get to do the same things every day because of how complex clinical research is. So firstly, like in my role generally as a scientist here where I work, I was trained in diagnostic and clinical research, obviously. But I'm more of a clinical research scientist now. So now I'm actually delegated into different clinical trials to do with COVID vaccines, PrEP, and I obviously process some of the normal specimens we receive in the lab. So that's one of the main things that I do here. But as a site coordinator for the REM study that I was telling about. So it was this specific role that introduced me to coordination or management of projects, if I can put it like that. So I was introduced to study coordination this year coordinating a site-initiated research project, which was done by the what do you call the principal investigator who is on site, Dr. Ayman Osman. So in this project, we are collaborating with the HVTN, which is the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, and the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So they have a project called RAMP, which stands for Research and Mentorship Program, where they conduct so if I can put it, actually, they conduct research projects in areas of basic clinical and behavioral and lab sciences, which basically go with their agenda. So with this project, they bring RAMP scholars from different backgrounds from America, and then we as sites, because like I said, it's a site-initiated research, then we write protocols and we write a proposal of the research that we want to do, submit to the HVTN. Then they select it and then get students to sign up for the projects, and the students come the site and then join us for the specific projects that we are doing. So like I said, the one that we're basically working on now is an STI one. It's more of an epi study. So it's on STIs, which are sexually transmitted diseases, obviously. And obviously these have been a public issue and concern for a long time, obviously. So because they obviously compromise quality of life, the sexual and reproduction health of obviously whoever that has the disease. Also, it affects mothers and kids, and it's interesting because we have more than 30 causes of STIs: bacterial, viral, parasitic, and
wow.
The high incidence of these is mainly attributed to the most common STIs, which are curable as well, such as chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomonas, syphilis as well. So basically, in terms of the projects that we were doing, we looked at what is happening currently in our country, and what is happening currently is the fact that we rely on syndromic management of STIs. So if somebody comes with symptoms to the clinic to say they've got like maybe a discharge or something like that, we treat them according to their symptoms. So they're not really tested like to say what they have. So there is no laboratory test to identify what organism is causing these symptoms. So we started to come up with the projects that we're currently doing. So what we do, what the specific thing that we do here, we test for the 8 most common ones that we have. It's just that I can't tell them off by head, obviously, but which is like for gonorrhea, chlamydia, and trichomonas, and then our panel actually tests for these 8, and then so we thought that it would be nice, not really nice, scientists say that sometimes, to find out the specific microbiological cause of the STI that cause whatever symptoms that an individual have. So now pose the research to say that because the Chaba Research Center is based in Soshanguve, township, in a township-like setting, and it conducts research in infectious and non-infectious diseases. So we just wanted to find out what STIs are sort of more common or relevant in this community that we are in currently. So our catchment area, which is basically the area where we get our participants, the people who come and volunteer for these studies and all those, is made up of, like I said, peri-urban, informal settlements. And because it's densely populated, and when we calculate, it's closer to roughly 1 million people. So our center is located in an area of high disease burden, as HIV, TB, and other diseases. And the community is fairly poorly resourced, and it contributes obviously to the social, economic, and structural factors, and those things contribute to the high burden of disease. And due to this syndromic treatment that is actually what is happening now, little is known about the actual distribution of these essential STIs around here. So that's how our project came about. Therefore, we understand that understanding the distribution of these STIs in Soshanguve, in our setting right now, will enable us as a research site to inform and better support the Department of Health, and to also help reduce the burden of these essential STIs in the population. So also, because we conduct clinical trials that involves drugs to treat some of these STIs, a greater understanding of the distribution and burden of these STIs within our catchment area will enable the site itself to better target and also refine future studies that are to come, so that we can be able to really be relevant in terms of clinical trials and the drugs that we are running trials on.
Wow, such fascinating work, and so important and very in touch with what's currently going on in the society. I mean, well, I actually learned something new here. Like, I didn't even know that there were 8 common STIs, and it's quite interesting that you said that you are with the way that it's currently being treated, where you said that it's the symptom is being treated, not necessarily the cause, is so important. So how far has this project gone in? Is it still running, or you are in completion?
Okay, so far we've screened almost 394 participants. That was a lot of PCR that I did there, and we're done with the enrollment. So that phase of the study is closed. So now it's just going back to the data and now putting it into a database. And then we have a statistician that we work with at the South African Medical Council. So going to help us with the analysis and really just breaking down some of the like percentages and prevalences and all those things, so that it can be an actual like research, finding that we can present, So
Interesting. I just have to say that as somebody who's working, I know you're working in a research space, but not necessarily doing it as a research project, like on your own. It's so interesting how, like, working in a laboratory, for example, there's like, you have support, so you don't have to do the whole entire thing. Like, I'm just thinking, like, if this was like a project, you'd have to actually conduct it. Then possibly, if you don't have the aid of a statistician, that you'd have to run your own results and then interpret those results, and and it's like, damn, we do a lot. It's better. It seems like out there's like different channels where people can come in and do what their expertise are, as opposed to just you trying to do everything. And possibly maybe this is why some of us drown doing our research.
There's really power in collaboration, and it goes to show the vast amount of like skills needed in a project, So working together definitely reduces some of the burden that one person would have to undertake if they were doing the research project alone. And also, like I told you, that I'm not. I'm more of a biology. I connected with biology more than the numbers side of things. So I definitely need that help.
And that's okay. Yeah. And I mean, it goes to show that, for you to be a scientist, there are people who love the numbers and there are people who love the lab work. So it's really great, like you said, that with the beauty of collaboration, you get to do what you are excellent at and somebody gets to do what they are excellent at. So we look forward to what the results show. And like you said, how they can be so beneficial to the health department of the country. This is really, really important work. Kudos to you and your team for doing this. Puseletso, we've been speaking, and as we're coming to a wrap up, right? You spoke about how your journey was not always straight and all the influences. And I just want us to I would like you to please maybe give us some words of wisdom as we part for somebody who's listened to your journey, to kind of like inspire them and, motivate them with all the lessons that going from point A to point AA to point 1 point whatever has taught you in science as a whole, or just, I think more beautifully it would be in life.
So what I could say in general is that, there's going to be difficulties in life, but I believe that success is different to all of us,
Yeah.
Some of the big roles of people did not really give them a chance to be where they are now. But for example, also I feel like I come from far, but I'm here now, and it's good to like really just appreciate everything, and whatever space that you occupy, whatever that you do, as long as you work hard, you let your work ethic speak for you. I believe that should be success. Each and every stage that you're at, just be grateful of where you are. Work hard, like I said. Network, so that's like that, the power of collaboration that you just spoke about. Know people so that you can also you can have doors open for you, so that you can learn new things as well. I would say that, and also do not look at end products of people and assume they got there easily. There's nothing better than getting to a place prematurely, because you won't be able to handle the burden that comes with the position. Appreciate each and every difficulty that you have, because in your period of building, or wherever way you're going, those challenges and those storms, they teach you resilience, so you will not fall easily. And even if you do fall, you'll be able to pick yourself up, because you know what it takes to be where you want to be. You know the hard work you need to put in. And don't let, it's hard for us as scientists, because life is hard. You can be easily rude. Don't let people change you, especially discourage you. You're going to meet people who are discouraged about themselves in life, or people who are just bad. I don't know what makes them bad, but they will make you feel unworthy of, and make you feel like giving up, or unworthy to be in that room. But all I can say is that just stay humble, love people. And lastly, I think just pray for yourself, pray for your goal, whatever that you want to achieve, pray for it, and really work hard towards it. And I'm sure you will manifest whatever that you see yourself as. That's what I would say.
Amen. Oh, wow. Such wonderful advice, and there were so many gems, and I hope that people can resonate to that. And thank you so much for coming onto the show, for sharing your journey, and also talking about your research. I learned something, and I'm sure that everybody else who is listening also learned something. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for having me as well. Hopefully we will talk again in the future when I'm doing other research that is interesting.
Oh, definitely. In the future, we'll do it face-to-face, in person, big TV setting. So you are more than welcome to come on and to chat with me. So thank you so much for chatting with me today.
No problem. Thank you so much.
All right, cool. To everybody else who's listening, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.